Heart of South Sudan. Welcome to Around South Sudan. You go to podcast for the stories that shape our nation. Each week we explore the most impactful headlines that are shaping the narrative in South Sudan. We delve into issues related to national development, peace building, politics, culture and economics. To stay informed and engaged, tune into Around South Sudan and be part of the conversation that matters. Subscribe now and join us for the stories that connect us all. Together, let's explore the heart of South Sudan. Welcome to Around South Sudan. You go to podcast for the stories that shape our nation. Each week we explore the most impactful headlines that are shaping the narrative in South Sudan. We delve into issues related to national development, peace building, politics, culture and economics. To stay informed and engaged, tune into Around South Sudan and be part of the conversation that matters. Subscribe now and join us for the stories that connect us all. Together, let's explore the heart of South Sudan. Welcome to Around South Sudan. You go to podcast for the stories that Happy Eid al-Adha to the Muslim fraternity in South Sudan. Hope you're enjoying your great moment. Well, you're welcome to Around South Sudan podcast with me, Lasuba Memo. Today we got two topics to focus on. One is the reconstitution of the high-level ad hoc committee comprising of 31 members from a wide spectrum of political parties and stakeholders. Now, this particular body has been tasked to foresee or oversee actually the implementation of the peace agreement, mobilize resources, and prepare the country for elections in the year 2026. But again, there is a question whether this committee has come in to replace the National Transitional Committee that has already been overseeing the same peace agreement. Next, we will be discussing the priorities of the newly appointed Chief Justice of South Sudan and his deputy. Now, Dr. Barnaba Bakdeng and his deputy, Lako Tranquilo, have made a lot of promises to fix some of the challenges that the public have already been concerned about, from the backlog of cases to stall promotions, ineffective administrations, and also modernizing the judiciary in terms of improving internet. Those have been some of the issues that have compounded the work of the judiciary. But now, the two leaders are saying these are their priorities that they will be looking at. But will they succeed if for the past decade, more than decade, the judiciary had faced enormous challenges, and the country, this has also come at a time, the changes rather, have come at a time when the country is undergoing a lot of challenges. Now, I'm joined by two of my colleagues here who are senior journalists at iRadio, Al-Hadi Hawari, Emmanuel Joseph Akile, the Dawn presenter. Both of you are welcome aboard, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's start with the committee that Kir has reconstituted on mid this week, that was Wednesday, and he appointed 31 members to the committee from different political parties and also with representatives from the stakeholders. Now, this has come also at a critical time when the peace agreement has somehow slowed because of what happened in March, as a result, resulting into the arrest of some political leaders from the SPLM in opposition, and as well as the house arrest of first Vice President Dr. Riek Machar. So this looks like intriguing here, given these new changes, especially in the peace agreement. Yes. And yes, what is your take, Al-Hadi?
Let me give you you know, this experience of mine during the CPA, I remember there is such kind of committees when the both sides implementing the CPA, which is Comprehensive Peace Agreement in Sudan, 2005-2010. So, if you look at this higher level, is always more from the senior official from the government side. They're always coordinating in terms of political issues. NTC is more operational and functioning, you know, how to do the executive, you know, work between the different bodies of the peace agreement that implement the peace. Akila will come in, but when you look at it, this time now, it needs more work. That means you have more coordination, more cooperations with different bodies. The new committee, which is a high-level committee, if you look at it, including all the parties, even if I'm not mistaken, some of the ministers within the government, from the other parties, SPLM, SPLIO, and then the other parties of OPP and so on, including those of Dr. Martin Elomor. So these 30-something people, all of them are high-level or senior officials within the government. They can coordinate and they can work more through also the different, you know, institutions. You have RJMEC, you have Citizen VM, also you have the executive body itself within the government. You know, how they can discuss what is going on, especially now these days. If you look at it, there is a lot of discussion going on. Who is going to be there? You know, what is going to happen? You know, there's a concern from the international regional leaders about the under house arrest of Dr. Riek Machar. So I hope within the days, that 1 month, 2 weeks, we'll get some fruitful result of the meetings, and then we'll see that there is again, you know, I'm not saying to revitalize peace agreement, but to get a solution for the way forward in the absence of Dr. Riek, and now we see in the presence of Stephen Parr Paul, and I'm sure the committee will work. As you know, also always Dr. Martin Elomor is always rapporteur, and different committees have been formed by President Kiir. I hope he will play also his role there, and then the country can move on, you know, in terms of implementing the peace agreement.
Akile, right, thanks Al-Hadi. What does this change mean?
I think it means...
Or would you say it's a change?
Yeah, in general, this change, the reconstituted new committee now, which is called the High-Level Ad Hoc Committee on the Implementation of the Revitalized Peace Agreement, I don't see much difference from the High-Level Committee on the Implementation of the Revitalized Peace Agreement, which recommended the extension of the transitional period or the roadmap again to the President, making itself as the closest committee or a group to the President after receiving comprehensive report from mechanisms of the Revitalized Peace Agreement. So I think this ad hoc committee now being reconstituted by the President will not do much different from in terms of the roles of the high-level standing committee on the implementation. And what is interesting, Lasuba Memo, and very important to highlight here now is that senior presidential advisor Kwal Manyang Juk is now the chairperson of this committee. And there, if you go to NTC, he is also the chairperson of the NTC. But this time around now, you see the new reconstituted ad hoc committee is now being deputized by someone from the SPLM-IO, or has been changed from the Minister of Petroleum, who is Port Kang, now to Lasuba Wongo. And you see, like Al-Hadi said, Dr. Martin is still there as the Secretary General of the committee. But very importantly, to mention now Michael Mukwi, who has been very effectively playing his role as a politician in the government, is now part of this committee. You have the likes of senior politicians, someone like Dr. Lama Kol Ajawin, you have Simon Kunpoj, you have Bol Makweng, you have Sarah Kleto. So to also refresh the minds of our public there, what is the role or the mandate of this committee now, Lasuba? Now, I think based on the on the presidency, now the first role or the first mandate of this committee now will be to oversee the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement, which the NTC has been doing, which the high-level committee has also been doing. So we will see, and we'll wait and see what difference will they really make, because same figures are also, many of these same figures in the NTC and the high-level committee are still part of this committee. Another mandate of this committee now is to coordinate for elections, and this is something that many people of South Sudan has been pushing hard for, that the country should actually go for elections. So one of their primary responsibility or role now to report to the presidency is, where are we now from the elections? What have you done? And we're yet to know how are they going to report to the presidency. Is it going to be on quarterly basis? Is it going to be monthly? We're yet to know that. Also, another important mandate of this committee now is to engage the stakeholders, meaning that they will also have to engage civil society groups. They will also have to engage the regional bodies. They will have to engage the international community. They'll have to engage mechanisms in the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement, among many others, including UN, RJMEC, and among many others. But also, they have the mandate or the responsibility of mobilizing resources for this process to be successful. So they have a huge responsibility, and they are big in number. So I don't think it's something difficult for them, because most of them have the experience. Most of them have been in the government. Most of them have actually shared their expertise in their respective ministries or their respective institutions. So I don't see anything big going to be different from the NTC role or the high-level committee. But this could be now a we have now new blood, so new spirit that can be injected into the new committee, because we have new members now who have not been part of the NTC and the high-level committee, who are now part of this new ad hoc committee formed by the presidency. We're yet to ascertain or to know, Lasuba Memo, whether this ad hoc committee is a replacement to NTC or high-level committee or not. This is something to be determined by the government, or to be determined by those who are holding key to these positions, and one day we'll actually reach out to them and find out.
And the fact that the president did not dissolve NTC also put a question mark. It could be still alive. It could be, or it could be another, or the formation of the reconstitution of the committee is another way to silently kill NTC and give a new look on how to go forward with the implementation of the peace agreement. What do you think?
I think officially, like Al-Hadi said, because we have not seen, NTC was reconstituted by the president, or is formed by the presidency. So if there is no any order or any directives from the president, meaning NTC is officially still operational. However, Kual Manyang is chairing NTC, who's the senior presidential advisor. Now you're giving him another task of chairing the new ad hoc committee. He is a senior presidential advisor. Now you're giving a responsibility to an elderly, to a person who is in the government, but you're giving him 3 jobs. And Memo, let me give you a brief example. I was watching the Foreign Affairs Committee in the U.S. when they summoned the Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. It was an issue in the U.S. for the Secretary of State to be in charge of USAID, because when they dissolved USAID, they gave him that responsibility to be the head. That was a big problem to the U.S. Senate or the Congress. You cannot handle, you cannot save 2 masters, you see. So I think we should also adopt this ideology. We should not continue with this idea of giving one person so many dockets.
And yet there are many South Sudanese.
Yes, and there are many other South Sudanese who are capable, who can still do the job. And also, I sometimes feel our leaders do not trust those who are not in the bush with them, you see. Those who were not with them during the struggle, who were not with them during the liberation. I see only few of them who can be trusted, but they look at the general picture of those who are capable, but they are not part of the liberation struggle, or they are not SPLM as per se. They cannot do the job. This is something that we should let go, and many capable South Sudanese who are jobless, many capable South Sudanese who have good ideas and expertise or experiences that we can utilize. So I think it's also time to separate the responsibilities, so actually to decentralize the responsibilities from only giving same jobs to same people. Because even this ad hoc committee, Lasuba, honestly, these are the same faces. Only few of them, and the rest of they've been there 31, but they call it big fish. The big fish are there who have been there in the government for so long. So maybe we need to inject fresh bloods and also separate this responsibility so that maybe someone like Col Manyang or someone like or his deputy. These are, I mean, especially Col Manyang. This is someone who, when you bring him ready food actually for him just to bless it or to say it is not right, go and do it this way. But you don't over actually giving them such kind of responsibilities. I think.
And Al-Hadi, whenever appointment is made, questions are raised about the effectiveness of implementation of the peace agreement. I'm alluding to the crisis within the SPLA group. Some of the members in the committee are actually those who are loyal to Paraqual.
You mean the SPLA-Mayo?
SPLA-Mayo, yes. So you see, most of them are those who are loyal to Paraqual, who claims he is the leader, interim leader of the group. Of course, we have other also splinter groups that have been defined by the government. So, and if you talk about smooth implementation of the peace agreement, you will always ask questions, how smooth is it going to be? Because you still have challenges within the SPLM group.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, I remember it was yesterday, I met with some people discussing about the same thing. If you look at this ad hoc committee and you try to compare with NTC and with this, the current political momentum in the country, I think there is some new method being used by the government or by the SPLM itself, SPLM leadership, because now
can you speak up for
these days you can hear that there is a new blood, you know, being injected in the country to do a good job for the people of South Sudan. So there is different, Akile. I'm not answering your question, but there is different now between, yes, Col Manyang is there and here, but there is different between ad hoc and NTC. And I think both of them are complementary to each other. What I've seen, the leadership of the SPLM, which is now is the ruling one, they try to strengthen all the mechanism that, you know, can lead to the implementation, is smooth implementation of the revitalized peace agreement. Although there is argument there about, is it collapse, not collapse, is it in ICU, is where a lot of questions there. So they're trying their best to bring, if Stephen Paraqual as person that, you know, within from the IO is still with the government, okay, let us do something. If you look at these 31 people, all of them, most of them are executive within this government. So I'm sure there is a new method that they're using, you know, for them just to push, and then until we reach the level of today's stage of elections, and then the both sides can agree, let's now do the elections. But it's still, because you're talking about 20-something% of the implementation of the 100% from the revitalized peace agreement. So people ask, what are we doing now? Are you going to tell us that you're implementing the peace agreement? Yes, sure. There is some efforts from some of the people within the government. They want to do something. But also, we cannot forget that there is some confusion happened since the time of Nasir until today, because the leader of the SPLM-IO is under house arrest, and then there is a new leader now who is dealing with the government, and at the same time, that person is telling the government side that we are ready to implement the peace together with you, and let us do this. So that's why you can see now, if you try to look at these 31 people, you will get there is SOA, okay? Although SOA also has its own problem because they divided now to 2 or 3, okay? There is OPP, because you can get the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, he's a member there, and then there is other different political parties. So to me, I think let them just move, and then we'll see. As observers or journalists, we'll see what will happen. And I'm sure they have 1 week or 2 weeks ahead for them to try to put the new ministers, because now number of ministers are not there. You have the Minister of Petroleum is not there. You have the Deputy Minister of Defense not there. You have the Governor of Western Equatoria is not there. You have, some of the vacancies, we're supposed to be filled according to the peace agreement. Although there is a lot of discussion going on. Who is who now? Who is who? Is Paraqual is the one now, in the shoes of Dr. Riek Machar to bring his own people to put them there? We'll see what will happen, because I'm sure there is something going on between the government as the SPLM-IG and the SPLM-IO and the other parties of the But we hope that things should be okay, and it will be for the interest of the people of South Sudan, so that 2026 to be the elections there.
Yeah, because if you look at SPLM, SPLM-IO and the factions there, you also have to be considerate with regards to which side actually carries weight, because if those group that are saying that group that still insists that Riek Machar is their leader, and they have actually forces, so this is going to disrupt actually the implementation of the peace process itself, because you will then not see security in some parts of the country. We already here, we have reported clashes between SSPDF and SPLA-IO, and these are forces that are still loyal to Dr. Riek Machar. And so what would it mean if this issue is not resolved? Because if you want this country to move forward, you're talking about creating that environment, conducive environment, where people will be able to go and do elections. Or we are saying the same way many of you have argued that during the SPLA fighting against the North, election was held in parts that were enjoying security. So what are your thoughts, Akile?
That situation was, Akile will come, but that situation, by the way, it was completely different. If you're talking about the situation of the former Sudan, our situation now is completely different. It's a country that, we have how do you call them? We have the veterans people, those who work very hard to get this country. Now, if you count from 2011 to today is 14 years, okay? What is supposed to happen? For you to have, you have to use a democratic way of doing your things as a government. You have an elected government that, can, people will ask tomorrow, next tomorrow, what are you doing for us? There is no services. I'm sure, what you're asking is true. What is happening in Juba here can give a lot of noise to people in the different places of South Sudan. If you go to the border of Congo now, it's not like before. If you go to this side, it's not like before. If you go to Upper Nile, the same thing. But the government itself is the one to think about, okay, we need to do something before the 2026 elections, because you're talking about peaceful, fair, good elections that for the sake of the democracy. But now, with the one that we have in Juba, is another issue that for the government to solve what is going to happen tomorrow, next tomorrow. We don't know what is going to happen. Although now they're very serious, forming the government, removing people, putting who belong to who, and then targeting who is belong to the former one. This one cannot help completely. But for you to help yourself as a politician, as someone who think about the future of this country, you have to come with a good method that you put down, and then you tell people, okay, if we do this, I'm sure we'll have a full peace in our country, and we'll have a good security toward different roads of South Sudan.
Akile, you did say this ad hoc committee will have a role in actually coordinating and also interacting with the international community, which is actually key for any government. As no government works in isolation, but must certainly have some linkages with the international community. Now, considering these changes, so what do you think it's going to be? Do you see that this committee will likely bring support or earn support for the government?
I really doubt. Honestly, I doubt. Why? Because First of all, if you look at the geopolitics of what is happening, you see the world, there are crises around the world, you know, and funding normally comes when a country is stable financially, and then they can actually extend their funding to other countries. One of the reasons is us now we've lost funding from the USAID. You have many countries pulling out from South Sudan, not only in terms of supporting institutions or the government, but also humanitarian, in terms of humanitarian assistance to the South Sudan, because of what they normally call donor fatigue. So this is what is happening. So that's going to be a challenge to the Republic of South Sudan, especially to this new committee. And also why? Because how would you approach this international committee? Because when we talk about funding, we normally refer to the international committee. We rarely receive support, especially for this peace implementation, from, let's say, IGAD, financial support. Serious financial support for this peace implementation. It's only when you go hotel, discussions, flights, but real implementation to the mechanisms, we're normally seeing it coming from, let's say, Troika countries, or maybe EU or other countries. So some figures in this committee are already sanctioned by the international community, including the head of the committee. You have the deputy, the Secretary General of this committee is being sanctioned by some countries. You also have the information minister who is being sanctioned. However, things may likely to change, because the sanctions may not stay there forever. But then the international community is always skeptical about supporting South Sudan financially, and this is why they have actually suspended or pulled out from supporting, some of them from supporting mechanisms like RGMEC or Citizen, because they don't see their money being well spent for the intended objective or purpose. Why? Because why do I help you if you cannot help yourself, Lasuba Memo? So when someone is funding you, it is for you now to implement what you requested, you demonstrated. You first demonstrate that you are going to do 1, 2, 3. So I think the advice I would really give to the new ad hoc committees, first to solicit funding from within South Sudan. And we cannot say that we don't have resources. I understand civil servants have gone for months without salary. It's still a challenge. But then we do have money in this country, Lasuba Memo, of course, from the oil reserves, and also a wonderful job being done now by the South Sudan Revenue Authority. And also we can solicit funds from other sources. So I think they can come up with a pool, with a pool where they can say, this is what we have, and now we are going to do 1, 2, 3. Now we need the support of the region. We need the support of the international community. This is how we might see support coming in from other countries or the region. And also something very important to mention, and this is linked to your first question, where you talked about what will happen, especially with elections, and having the team of, or the group of Riek Machar is still having forces compared to the group of Parkwall, because the SPLA-IO faction, military faction, is still paying more allegiance to Dr. Riek compared to Stephen Parkwall. And this one now takes us to one of the mandates of this ad hoc committee, as I mentioned earlier, the first mandate, overseeing all chapters of the revitalized peace agreement, with exception, or except chapter 2 of the revitalized peace agreement. And chapter 2 is the backbone of this peace agreement implementation. So we cannot move on to talk about elections if we cannot fully implement chapter 2 of the revitalized peace agreement. And now that takes us to the responsibility of the committee of coordinating for election. But then people of South Sudan do not want to go for polling stations where they are seeing people with guns, or let's say soldiers or police forces officers with guns, forcing them, you go this way, you vote this way. People want to feel free, and if election is not free, fair and credible, I can tell you for free, Lasuba Memo, let me use the CEO words, I can tell you for free, we will actually see a pocket of violence, if not serious violence, happening in this country. Why? Because we still have many forces that are still paying allegiance to generals or officers who are actually who listen to Dr. Riek Machar, who is still under house arrest. So we don't want to see any trigger of violence because election is being postponed, or elections is not conducted in a free, fair and credible manner. So yeah.
any way forward. Before you ask, to add on what Akila said from the beginning, is that, if you look at it, the paradox of what is happening exactly, you'll see there is a lot of differences. You form a ad hoc committee to oversee
I like that paradox.
To coordinate, okay? To coordinate with the regional international. Yesterday there is a statement from the international leaders, I think, in regional. So, if you look at that statement, they're still demanding for the release of those who are under house arrest, which is Dr. Riek Machar. And then at the same time, this committee, the core mandate of this committee, by the way, is to make sure the international community and the regional leaders that we're okay and things are moving well. They're the one to convince them, by the way, this committee. This is the mandate. At the same time, we don't have funding. We don't have money. You don't want to tell them
you mean the donors?
Yes, they give you money. So for you to go to them to tell them that you are ready, they will tell you no. We have people they're in there. They know everything. There is nothing like that. The environment, the political environment is still unhealthy. We cannot do anything. So for us to cross the bridge to 2026 elections is not an easy job. So they have to work very hard, and then we can reach that destination. It's still depending on one thing. I'm always willing to repeat it here. It's still, if you look at it, is the matter of political will of the leaders of the country.
Yes, Akila, you wanted to add
something? I would like to add something on the meeting you mentioned on Wednesday this week from Ismail Wise, who's the special envoy of IGAD to South Sudan. He convened a meeting where you had AU, you had ANMIS, you had some members of the Troika countries, and then you had IGAD and many others. And
Troika member states.
Yes, and this meeting, Lasuba Memo, was meant to push hard or to pressure parties to the revitalized peace agreement, especially the unity government, to identify the root causes of conflict in South Sudan. And one of them he mentioned was one of the clauses in the recommendation was the release of the detainees, as they say. Now for us as journalists, when we say release of whoever, first vice president, whoever, we are not the one calling for the release of the first vice president. It's not our issue. Ours is just to observe and to report what is who said what, and we give it to the public to judge. So this is now a reminder to the government. The other time, the government said he is in conflict with the law, among others. Then investigation was still undergoing. So now the people of South Sudan are still waiting for the investigation. Where are we from the investigation? Because it looks like it's blocking almost everything because of this issue of the SPLM-IO, and the disagreement or the confusion within the SPLM-IO. So this is one of the reasons why now the peace agreement is dragging behind, and not forgetting also the importance of listening to the media from the public, and especially you see the messages the people of South Sudan are always sending. We want elections, we want peace, we want tranquility, we want silence of guns. So I think this can happen if the leaders really listen to the voices of people through a media outlet like us, like iRadio, because you see Museveni once said that he listened to the radio because he doesn't want to receive his reports on his desk all the time from what is happening. But he listened to the radio himself to hear from the people directly what happens. You remember Barack Obama used to go to the radio stations when he was the US president, and he interacts directly with the people of South Sudan. So I think it's high time now for our leaders really to interact directly with the people of South Sudan. This issue of having brokers, circular, this one circle, another circle until you go to the public does not work really.
Yes. Let me this one on behalf of Lasuba. There is a question here from one of our viewers. It's called Lee Yong Liaut. He said, I would like to know about the term and the reference of the ad hoc committee. We said to implement all chapters, exclude only chapter 2, which is security arrangements. As we all know that Parkwal group have no any single army. Okay? Peace was signed between the warring party with the active soldiers, not between the briefcase party. I think this is what I've been talking about.
Yes, you have certainly answered that earlier.
Yes.
but not a direct answer, but your view on that. Yes, I think let's move to the next topic. And what we now need to do is to wait what will happen given the formation of the high-level ad hoc committee.
I'm really sorry, just something brief to mention to, who is that? Who was that?
It's called Leong.
Just to mention to Leong, Stephen Parkola is not a different group from SPLM-IO. So you cannot say he doesn't have an army or something like that. So according to the SPLM-IO, he is an interim chair of SPLM-IO. So if he is to command the forces, it will be the same forces of the IO. If the forces are not listening to him, that means they do not accept him to be their leader. So he cannot have his own forces, just to make it clear.
Absolutely. That's a good one. Yes, we are yet to see what this committee would do with time, given their mandates. There are 4 or 5 mandates to fulfill. Now, let's talk about the priorities of the Chief Justice, newly appointed Chief Justice, Dr. Benjamin Bak Deng, and his deputy, Lako Tranquilo, who actually outline what they want to do during their tenure in office. And they first acknowledged the challenges that the judiciary faced during the range of Chief Justice, Justice Chandrich Madut, that is the backlog of cases, and then what we never had before, that there were stalled promotions of Chief Justice. Others have, for 19 years, have not been promoted. They remain in the same position, and also lack of infrastructure like internet. So they are looking at how to fix this and ensure that the judiciary is reformed and it gained the trust of the people. There are many things that they did mention during their reception ceremony. So with all these that they have said, what do you foresee? Is it really going to be that easy for these 2 justices to really bring about reforms in the judiciary? Any of you can take on this.
Yeah, I think, Al-Hadi can come in. Reforms take time, and I don't think it's going to be easy. Nothing is easy in terms of what they mentioned, because you look at the digital infrastructure where you have artificial intelligence, where you have digitalization, where you will need electricity, where you need internet, and this is not something easy. And I think, and I've witnessed several times, you go to the judiciary by noon, babur bugafulu, generator bugafulu, kahraba mafi. Internet there, you just forget about internet. Some people may say this is misplaced priority, because he talked about the region. People are using now digital system in the court. Look at a country like Kenya and Uganda. We cannot compare ourselves with those countries, because we are way far behind. But I think it's a good dream that if he worked hard with the support from the judiciary in general, the administration, that can happen. But also the issue of promotion of judges and improving their welfare. Even if you promote judges now, Lasuba Memo, still you can promote them, but then if they are not paid, so what is the use of, why do you promote me if you cannot increase my salary or improve my welfare? So I think the challenge in all these priorities is going to be funding. That's the first thing. Because even his predecessor, Chandrich, during his speech, he also talked about beautiful plans that he had, including having, how do you call it, even he talked about this issue of improving welfare of the judges, improving the compound, improving the issue of transport for the judges, having institute for the judiciary, and also having a chamber for the judiciary as well, and also having guest house for the judiciary. But all these plans are good, but then they are not being implemented because of lack of funding. So I think the new leadership of the judiciary has a task of working closely with finance ministry to solicit funds. And also the issue of, backlogs in cases, backlogs in courts. This is something that they really need to be handled. Nothing is easy, but I think it is possible if there is demonstration of, or if there is commitment, not only from the leader or the leadership of the judiciary, but also from all the the parastatals or the other support staff of the judiciary, that can lead to a successful judicial system in the country, because many people have lost confidence in the judicial system of South Sudan. They are saying they are in the pockets of the executive. Do it 1, 2, 3, and they can judges can easily be bought. You can see court documents are being photocopied or printed outside the court case. You see a judge passing a verdict in the court, going to using a public transport. I wish you would. This is the judge who sentenced my cousin. You see, so there are at risk all the time. Our judges. So all these issues really need to be addressed, not only by talking but by putting words into actions.
Yes. Let me add like this. Achilles today is talking like Kong also. You know, when we talk about the reform,
I've not been here for almost a month.
Reform is always a positive change that can happen in any institutions. But also depend, for you to implement it, depend on the will of the person who's up there and the person who's talking about the reform. Yes, we cannot compare South Sudan to the neighboring countries because they have more than 60-something years of independence, apart from from Ethiopia. But the situation of South Sudan, if you look at it, we're always telling the people outside there as journalists that we're supposed to start from where the others stop. When you talk about digitalization of the judiciary system in the country, that means you must get all the support that can lead you to that. But now what we're facing is people is still, even those who are working at the different courts, they have something called county courts. We have a very nice experience with them, by the way. Sometimes you go to the court, they will tell you that, you're supposed to, today is your sitting. You go to the judge, you found that they say, no, file, malaftak wuduru. File takemafini. So they will just misplace your file.
That's because there's no good record keeping.
Yes. If
anybody can tamper with.
Yes, if you don't have file, that means how is that judge? That judge has tens of cases, she or he been handling. How can he or she, remember your file? That means they have to get your file first, and then they get their file.
Open one by one.
Yes,
but digital is
very. They will say, okay, that's so many of us is Emmanuel Joseph Akila.
Yes.
Probably will open it in Excel or in this Word. But the issue now is those who are working there. This is the question. They are ready for reform.
Digital challenge.
Yeah, they can talk about reform, but they're ready for reform because let me tell you, the fees that they're demanding from people is something small, 1,000, 2,000. Even cannot do anything for the high court or for the judicial system in the country. But another challenge is the number of the judges that we have in the country. I heard the statistics that there are almost 115 or 125. 200.
They say 102.
102.
Yes, 122. Yes. So the issue is, in their rules and regulations or policies there, they allow to recruit judges from the lawyers, those who had more than 15 years experience. Definitely be recruiting to be a judge. That's why you can see the movement. Some lawyers become the judges, and some judges, they just, left the office, they become lawyers, they become in the market. So here, the reform itself is not just, is a matter of people saying reform, reform, reform. There is some challenges also. You have to sit, you have to have conferences, workshops, design a very nice plan, a strategic plan for the High Court or for the Judiciary of South Sudan to move on, because South Sudan is not only Juba, by the way. Some people misunderstanding that, South Sudan is only, no. There is a places you go to Nyamlel, you need a judge there. You go to Kapota East, you need a judge there. You go to Panyikang there, in Upper Nile, you need a judge there. So, judge that, I remember I met with one of the guys, I know him as a broker at Kubra Haboba. I asked him, what are you doing here? I say, hey, you don't know? This is our hospital, man.
The police station?
No, he's entering the court. He said, this is our hospital. So, if you try to understand, court is like hospital. Like a doctor also. The judge is like a doctor. Can treat you well and then you get a solution for your problem. But here, people look at the judge like, no. That's why last week I told you, judges are not allowed even in some countries to go and watch football. They're allowed to, to get this leisure time with the people there on the tree, no.
They have their own
club. Not allowed. Because they have to pay you for that as a judge. They have a special consideration in terms of their life. But here, you know, they will just talk to you like this, saying, I'm a judge, I'm a high court judge. So, as I mentioned from the beginning, reform is a positive, you know, changes that can happen in the country and in other institutions. Like now, if you can ask, judiciary is something, you know, up there. But do you ask yourself one day, you've been hearing about Anti-Corruption Commission. Where is Anti-Corruption Commission now? And you heard that about, you know, there's a lot of corruption in the country. So at the end, it's the willing of those leaders, those who are up there, can help and fund the certain institutions that, you know, can reform well, and then everything will be in place.
Right, and in the short term, what should they do to begin, you know, gaining the trust and the confidence of people in the judiciary?
I think to first, it's not according to reports. We've run the story several times. Some judges used to be bribed, so that should have stopped. I understand we are going through financial crisis or challenges at some point, but then your ethics, what you have signed up for, should not actually be compromised because of you are not being paid. So you being compromised or being bribed by someone is also, you might sentence someone to years in prison, but how will you feel, Subo Memo? How your instinct, your thoughts, I mean, how will you go home and sleep and you have kids and you've done something that you're not supposed to do? What your conscience, you know? So I think they should think about that, and they should also advocate for proper justice reforms, and it goes back to what Al-Hadi said, should start from them. You know, many judges deserted this profession, and the 102 who are still remaining, and we salute them, and we say thank you for not quitting or for not deserting this profession. It's a noble profession. Many people, not only judges in different professions, deserted, even lecturers at the different public universities, to better paying positions or jobs with NGOs, with UN agencies. But those who remained, it means a lot to them. So I think it's important to continue doing their work and also try to avoid bribes. And also to the government, and especially to the finance ministry, there are some critical institutions that we should not tamper with, because justice delayed is always justice denied. And if we are a country without rule of law, without good governance, trust me, we will continue to be ranked one of the least corrupt countries in the world. We will continue to be ranked one of the most dangerous countries to be in the world. We might even be, some countries might even ban South Sudanese to go to their areas because of what our leaders are doing. So I think we should all, especially the government, to solicit funds and to improve the welfare of the judges, for them to perform their duties to the best of their capabilities. And that's how we can actually move this country forward in terms of judicial system reform and also having rule of law in the country.
Rule of law is also important in any country. If there is good rule of law where every citizen abide by the law of that country, it is also, as you said, it portrays a good image about a country, and it also attracts people to come to your country because they know there is a law that can protect them there. And you can also attract investors to come, that their property will be protected. So these are very key. That's why most people go to countries that are called peaceful.
Yeah.
Because everybody there fears to be punished. And this is why we see, for me, that's why I see even South Sudanese do not respect the leaders. Some South Sudanese do not respect their leaders. And vice versa. The leaders are not also doing the right thing. Some leaders are not doing the right thing in the country, and these are all things that do not bring about an orderly society, that people are able to see themselves equally before the law, and that if there is any infringement of their rights, they will be able to refer this to the court and their matter is resolved peacefully. I'm also thinking about why we find even impunity from people who are not even powerful in this country. It's because there is no good justice system, and anybody want to get away with anything just because there is no system that they can punish them. So that's my own view. But now, yes, you said it's important that the country, the judiciary really tries its best by first ensuring that they live by example, and if they do this, that will be very good, because they will begin to gain the trust of people to be going out for them, and instead of people even avoiding the judiciary. So that's key, and I do say it's more interesting. But Al-Hadi, you have a say.
Yeah, you know, the point of Akila remind me something we've been discussing with those of Kong here in the newsroom. Can you imagine in South Sudan now, a lot of people prefer to go to the how do you call it, this local justice, these local courts, customary courts, than go to the High Court.
Kong did mention here.
Yeah.
He tried with the judiciary.
Because if you go there, they will just look at your case, 3-4 sittings, they're done with your case. Why? Because they have doubt in that system. So for you to gain, okay, the goodwill of the people toward you as a judicial system, the reform, it starts with by yourself first. Make sure that you have a good judge in Melekia Court, you have a good judge in Gudele, the same thing with the different areas around South Sudan, to convince the people that no, we're back with a different, you know, with a different system. But if it's continue like that, people just go to Bikod in Qatar, go to Ashara Wilayat there in Mangatain, or then Haigonia, they'll just go there for the cases just to be solved. But if you continue like that, nobody will go to you. Because even now these days for the marriage certificate, some people abandon to go to this civilized one. They just go to the local one. Why? Because they have doubt on them. So to me, this reform, you know, the word is not heavy, it's just a small word, but it has a big meaning for the human being. Because when I say, please, Lasuba, try to reform your behavior, you'll go and think about that. As Lasuba, yes, suspect. You cannot sleep as a human being. Let me tell you, as someone who's civilized, and at the same time, you know, the guy to Medina, you cannot be an happy person. Completely. You have to go and think about it.
A statement is enough.
Yes.
Not even being taken to jail.
Yes.
There's one thing I would like,
yes. And then imagine this thing, Malaysia, Akira. This thing is not from someone who is from the people that, you know, you are there because of them. So yeah, exactly. If this High Court there in Juba here, if there is no people going there, they're working for who? They don't serve the people. So most of those people, they say, you know, you have to do 1, 2, 3, 4. So definitely have to do that. Yeah. Yes.
I think there's one thing I would like also to add, the police, because they are all intertwined, or they are linked, because whatever happened in the police station, if it graduates to the judiciary level. So you see police in some countries, in many countries, are being labeled as one of the corrupt institutions, even in some of the advanced countries. And you know, police here, Lasuba Memo, and you know, even Al-Hadi can attest to cases. Like, give an example of Kubri Haboba there. You go to open a case, or you have an issue you want to report, they will first ask you, I don't know whether they discussed this last week here or not, they will first ask you go and buy, you know, this A4, you go and buy Phyllis Cup, or you bring, so you yourself actually buying a plain paper or blanket paper for your own case to be opened. You remember during Dr. James Wanigas, the Vice President for Economic Class, I remember there was a committee formed, or the President tasked the committee to investigate some of the corruption cases. And Onyoti Adigo was the secretary of that committee. You remember they went to Nimule and they went to the airport. They said police have not been remitting revenues from these 2 entry points in the country for years. So this tells you there's corruption somewhere. If it is not the Interior Ministry, it can be directly to the police. And also, if you see, many mutharin, you see the police, they call it the investigators. Many mutharin can easily be bribed. Many of these investigators can easily be bribed. If I am on the wrong side, I can bribe the Mutare of my case to support my case, and he will write something different from there, and he will become the victim. And it graduates, it goes to the judiciary, and the judiciary looks at it and can just pass the verdict against, in my favor, because I bribed the Mutare or the investigator. So at some point, some people also report that these same investigators or reporters have linked with some judges. You see, so they will say, "Judge, I have a case like this. If you can even bribe the judge through the Mutare, you see, the Mutare can go to the judge and facilitate your case can be easily done." So I think one of the reforms you earlier asked is also for the judges to think about that and to discipline those Mutarin, and also to even investigate them. And that's how we can also try to shut down some of these loopholes in the judicial system.
I remember I attended one of the workshops. The former director of legal directorate in Central Equatorial State, you know, Minister of Justice, what they're doing, they have a directorate. They'll put a senior attorney general as the head of that one, and then that person is the one in charge for the different attorney generals and different police stations. Like in Juba town here, is the one to send them. Kubri Haboba, Mauna, Melekia, Juba town, and different places.
So what is the issue?
So I asked him one day, one of the questions, why there is different roles between the attorney general and then the investigator. Later he said, I will answer you. Later called me for one of the workshops. Yes, no, they call it Mudir Bidal Idara Al-Qanuniya. Ali huwa bardo Maulana. I remember it was, he's now a doctor, Dr. Sabri Wani. So I went there, I found that all the investigators, because, you know, the good thing is the different organized forces, they have legal department and they have investigators. They brought all of them from different organized forces, even from the army. So they brought them. The workshop was facilitated by the ONMIS, Department of Human Rights, and then those who are doing the lecturing from the Minister of Justice. So they try to teach them, you know, the relation between Muatinin, Wazir Guide Mutharida. How can you deal with Muthari? Because if you're violent as an investigator, that means the rule of law will not take place there. So you have, the first thing, you have to be civilized, you have to be. But what Akile mentioned about the issue of the telescope, you go and buy a telescope or a Waraga or Jibuda, there is issues there, by the way. There is no money for that. That's why, in the version of last week, I told you, the three institutions, Minister of Justice, Minister of Interior, plus the Judiciary, they're working as a complementary body together in terms of to achieve justice in this country. But if there is any loopholes in one of them, that means
the others are affected.
The whole system. That's why now they're talking about reform. But judge cannot work alone without an investigator, without an attorney general. Because the investigator is the one to investigate, to take the file to attorney general. If you look at the case like, okay, this case now is, we cannot do it here in terms of the both sides can compromise, they'll just transfer your case to the judge. And the judge there, sometimes even the judge can summon the attorney general to come. At the same time, the first person who can appear there before even everything, the first sitting, is the investigator to come with the file. The investigator will read all the how do you call it, the investigation he did to the judge. So here, the system is one from the government side. But now it's upon them to deal Mamuat and Al-Fida. That's why they said we have more thousands of cases been delayed. As he mentioned, justice delay, justice deny.
Right.
So thousands of cases, most of these cases about land issues. And if you try to ask about these land issues, the land issues cases belong to indigenous people. All of them are South Sudanese. No matter from where. Those who have been here. As you know, Lasuba, some people that didn't go even 1 meter during all this time to war to South Sudan, from Juba, from different towns to South Sudan. They just stick in their houses. Omando Mahal Tazira. Later, Mahal Tazira becoming the Medina, they turn it to be what? Plots, to farm or haja. So when you have that farm, and you've been here for more than 50 years, all this work, and someone came and grabbed your land, you went and opened a case, and the case has been for more than 10 years. What will happen? Mahalas. He say, so these are cases that, you know, we hope those guys will accelerate the process, and then justice will come to the owners. And I'm sure people will be happy about that. This is the reform that they're talking about. Yes.
Time has not been our best ally. Alhadi Awari, thank you for your insight. Emmanuel Joseph Akile, you too, brother. And let's continue having this conversation.
Sure.
And look at matters that really concern our citizen. And I also don't want to take this opportunity to recognize the man behind this streaming as Darlington Moses. And I would say thank you for your time. And to you also, the viewer, for having stayed glued to this conversation. Let's look forward to another edition of the same program next Friday. From me to you, have a blessed weekend, and also do enjoy your public holiday.
Thank you.
Our nation. Each week we explore the most impactful headlines that are shaping the narrative in South Sudan. We delve into issues related to national development, peace building, politics, culture and economics. To stay informed and engaged, tune into Around South Sudan and be part of the conversation that matters. Subscribe now and join us for the stories that connect us all. Together, let's explore the heart of South Sudan. Welcome to Around South Sudan. You go to podcast for the stories